I think the biggest mistake companies make with email is
Every great founder needs a great mentor, and every single weekend I bring you a brand new mentor. This week it's Eamon Fitzgerald, the founder of WineSpark. Today he's going to teach us one of the most important skills in business, described by Jeff Bezos as the most important skill: writing. How to become a better writer, a better storyteller, and why AI tools might not be the answer.
I think the biggest mistake companies make with email is treating it as a corporate, a mass broadcast.
It's an advertisement,
from a company.
You don't want that.
My emails, they're plain text. They're addressed directly to the recipient. The most important thing I think of when I write an email is it's personal. And if you treat it as personal, if you write in my head to Gary, who I'm looking at right now, telling him about my latest discovery, it ends up reading that way, rather than a big sale or discount. People just don't respond as much to that in the long run. You'll get a quick hit of sales. So if you can write personally and authentically, some of my best emails that I write, I do all of my sales we generate all of our sales through email, right? And yeah, like you say, out of fashion 10 years ago, email never really left, because it's just an extension of communication, which goes back to the carrier pigeons.
How did you learn to be a good writer, though? Because that all your sales comes through email. That's mind blowing. How did you learn to be a good writer? Because email makes sense, but it's like anything; it only makes sense if it's very good.
I think. Always liked English in school and read lots. I still read lots. Combine. It's important to combine. I feel like read lots of business books, but read a lot of fiction as well, because you just get that blend of languages.
Same, yeah.
What you put in comes out. Even stuff like reading. People have a go at certain tabloids, but if you read The Sun, for example, not that I do it often, but like their English is amazing because they have a target market. It's simple, it's understandable, and if you just read lots of different sources, I think what you put in comes out. And then once you have that, you then need to go experience the things that you're writing about. So in my case, I'll travel somewhere, I'll spend time with a winemaker, I'll learn about the region, I'll always have my notebook in my pocket, taking notes, learning, writing things down. And some of my best performing emails are written on the plane on the way home from Madrid at 9 o'clock at night. And I've had the most amazing day in a wine region. I'm probably still half cut from the lunch and the wine I had, but I'm just, my passion and my excitement is kind of peaked as I'm going home, because I cannot wait to tell people about what I've just discovered.
That's magic. So you're a blend of kind of an explorer, a journalist, a writer, and a businessman, all blended together. And I think that's a beautiful insight. You need to experience the things you're writing about. Because I think online there's this temptation to just hop on trends, whatever's kind of cool. Oh, I'll write about AI. Yeah, grand. Like you said, you might get an initial hit, but that passion has to be there. So I think for businesses listening, you have to be passionate and you have to experience new things. I think there's a lot of regurgitation of content, a lot of regurgitation of stories. I think you going out there every week and every month and finding new adventures to write about it comes through. That's fantastic.
I think it's like, everyone's talking about AI at the moment, how it's going to take over the world and, eliminate jobs and humans and stuff. And it may well do that, right? But, only 3 years ago, we're all sitting on Zoom going, who needs face-to-face anymore? We've got this, why are we wasting all this money traveling and going to meetings and stuff? And, a couple of years later, you realize, no, we need human interaction and authenticity.
That's why we're sitting across from each other right now in a beautiful studio with lights, and that's what you need. There's very little that can replicate this. Yeah, Zoom gets the job done sometimes, but you still need that human interaction. I think AI is going to take over a lot of autonomous jobs. So a lot of stuff that should be automated anyway, but it doesn't get rid of humans. It frees humans up to do more higher value things. You cannot recreate Eamon Fitzgerald's journey to a vineyard from an airport in Spain and what you experienced, where did you stop, what did you do. You can't replicate that with AI.
Yeah, I was in Bierzo last year. It's this region in the north of Spain. And there's a young winemaker there called Cesar Marquez. And his uncle is a very famous winemaker. Anyone who knows their Spanish wine will know who it is. Raul Perez. He's Spain's most famous winemaker. Cesar is his nephew. And he's only 31, 32, young guy. And everyone knows Raul Perez. Cesar has made wine with him since he was a teenager, right? So Raul's wines are amazing. They cost kind of 25 quid up to $1,000 a bottle, right? Say that while Raoul travels all over Spain making wines all over the place, Cesar's always back in the winery on the end of the phone to Raoul going, "He do this, do that," And in 2015, then Cesar started his own winery, and I picked him up 2 years ago at a wine fair, and went out to visit him in Bierzo. And spending the day with them, traveling around the vineyards, and learning about what makes the grapes special, and the combination of the land and the wind, and the terroir, as we say in wine. And then back in the winery, and I tasted about 45 barrels with him. This guy is hot property in terms of like he's the name on everyone's lips in Spain, but so humble, so generous with his time. He'd be asking me my opinion. He's like, "Has this got too much oak, or is this good enough for the top blend?" Asking me, like, I've no place, or no, like, he's not going to take my my opinion is whatever. He's brilliant at what he does, but his humility and his ambition, and you start to learn that, like, the reason he started his own business was he didn't want to live in the shadow of his uncle. He loves his uncle, loves his family, but he wanted to make his own name for himself. And when you learn that, that here's an entrepreneur in his own right, making incredible wines, and the fact that I got him before anyone else did, and you can only get his wines with WineSpark in Ireland at an amazing price as well. They're the little moments where you can only get that when you're with the person, over several hours, learning their history, learning their motivations, and learning what makes their product taste incredible.
I think that's very interesting about his mindset there, because any of the great entrepreneurs or founders I've met, they have that growth mindset. They're just so curious. They listen a lot. They ask you questions, even if it's about the podcast or whatever. They're just curious to go, how does that work? Yeah. And what do you do with that? That's interesting. Have you heard about this? They're just on that buzz of that mindset of curiosity. They're driven by curiosity and not ego.
That's exactly it.
He could have a massive ego. He could have the biggest ego in the world. He could just take over, walk straight in, take over the family business, happy days, probably wouldn't have to work too much. But instead, he's out there grafting, creating his own path. And that's tough, because that shadow looms large, I'm sure, from his uncle. Like, that's huge. Yeah.
And so many of the producers I work with, they're entrepreneurs in their own right. They might have left the family business or gone from a different career into winemaking. They tend to make wine in, wine vineyards and wine regions. They're beautiful, but they tend to be quite remote. Some of the best wines come from these very harsh, remote areas in the likes of Spain and Italy and France. So it's a hard life. But a rewarding one, knowing that they're making brilliant wines. And that curiosity is usually what sets them apart. Wine regions tend to be centuries old, and the locals made wine one way for all that time and still do for the most part today. But it's those people who've got the curiosity, who might have traveled to other places, who kind of take that feedback from their importers and their, the people that come in and visit, and do things just a little bit differently. The results are in the product, and they usually have a great story to tell as well, and that's my role.
So you actively travel a lot then to go and find these kind of hidden gems. So how often are you away?
Yes, I'm happy to be very well connected. Down the years, I'm gone every kind of 6 weeks for a night or two. It's a great way to obviously experience and find new wines and stories, but also it's a great way just to keep the balance with your life. There's nothing better than having a great day, in a vineyard, waking up early the next morning, going for a walk around a sleepy Italian village or, a busy Spanish city as it wakes up, and you're just experiencing it, and it's just, you're out of, Dublin, out of the daily stuff, and then, it's just that reset you need, and then you get back to the madness and the kids. And
there's a big power to that, I think, because I think a lot of us get disconnected from what we're doing because we've all these tech tools, because we can do a Zoom, because we don't really have to do that thing, the boots on the ground thing. I think there's a magic in that and a power to it, and it's probably what keeps you fresh.
It definitely does, and it keeps your ear to the ground as well in terms of what's new, what's hot, what's like you even take the basic economics of the wine industry. In Bierzo, you'd be this really exciting wine region, northern Spain. Some of the most expensive bottles in Spain are coming from this place. The grape is called Mencía. It's like Pinot Noir, Burgundian style, kind of northern Rhone as well. Wine's great. You'd be talking to the producer there. It's like, right, how much are the grapes here? Like on average, in the valley, it's like €1 a kilogram, right? So on a bottle of wine, €1 a kilogram means about 70-80 cents of actual wine in the bottle. So in terms of, you go to this steep slope where all the most expensive wines selling for hundreds, if not thousands of bottles, like how much are the grapes off this slope? It's like €2 a kilogram, which is about 150 worth of wine in the bottle. So it's like you realize then that, you know, you're getting all this intelligence all the time, but you realize the gap between what people spend at the top end of the market versus what they actually cost to produce, that gap is marketing. Okay, and what I'm trying to do is reduce that gap.
Okay.
But you only learn and understand these things the more you kind of get out there and talk to people. And I guess back to your point around curiosity as well. So it kind of serves its purpose when you get out on the road like that.
So year 2, what's kind of been landmarks you've kind of gone, oh, that's a big one? As in when you were kind of sat back, because I think when you're early in the journey, you kind of just the head down is grinding. And but you seem like a very self-aware dude, so I'm kind of guessing there was moments where you just kind of took your head back and went, "Oh, that was a nice little one to hit."
Yeah, you're always yeah. I mean, year 2, you're looking for any wins because those wins seem to come easy in year 1 because you're new. We recently crossed the 100,000 bottles shipped mark, which
that's huge.
Felt like a big achievement. You know, 2 years on from standing outside my house in Dunleary with, you know, a little kid's table in front of me and pouring some kind of unlabeled bottles of wine from my neighbours. So yeah, 100,000 bottles of wine is you know, when you as entrepreneurs, I think you can be quite self-critical and all that stuff. Yeah, you do need to step back from time to time and kind of maybe just go, right, that's pretty good, and then you move on to the next raging fire. But yeah,
it's important though, isn't it? It's. I think entrepreneurs don't do that. I think it's just inbuilt in us to be like forward. I think it's fear. I think I've thought about this a lot as I've chatting to entrepreneurs. Afraid to stop, afraid to kind of smell the roses because it could all go away in the morning, and it very well could. But it's trying to find that blend, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Again, very hard to, but yeah, you do learn. I guess, you know, in my last job as well, like you got to celebrate the wins when they come, and I feel like, as a founder and as an entrepreneur now, compared to, you know, when I was the MD of my previous company, it wasn't my business. Those wins just are so much harder to come by. They're much harder fought. Therefore, they are more satisfying.
And they're sweeter, right?
Yeah,
they're sweeter. What if you enjoyed that chat with Eamon? I guarantee you'll love the whole chat. So go back and listen to episode 280. The link is in the description also.